where we talk all things leadership and just about being true to yourself and true to those that you serve, and just how we can be better leaders in a world that needs more leaders. And one of the things we've talked about in the past is how anyone can be a leader. It doesn't always mean they should. And many times that's because they may or may not have the right tools or the right resources or the right training. And so one of the big passions behind doing this, am I the only one with an echo?
Probably.
Okay, haha, funny. Okay, something's coming through. Sorry.
sorry.
Slight distraction, yeah. But one of the things that doesn't come through real well is the training. So many times leaders just come through and they go, here's this pile of stuff, get to work on it. And no one trains anybody how to do it. And it's so dismal. I've heard it over and over again. Like literally someone gets promoted into leadership and now they're supposed to guide all these people with them. And no one helps them. No one brings them along. And a couple of the topics we talked about lately, where leaders are trainers, leaders are developers, leaders are planners, all these different things that have to come together for effective or true leadership. And so today, with me discussing this very topic of what's to come is Jim T. Chong, the walk star, always the ever amazing leader with us here, and the true man, true leader, true man, Mike Van Pelt.
Hey, gang.
I like saying that. Mike Van Pelt.
I like it being said.
I like seeing that too.
It's fun.
MVP, by the way.
By the way, folks, leaders are fun. So let's have some fun. So the word of the day today is collaborators. Why? Because we must be willing to collaborate. I've talked about this before under different headings and words we've used, or especially when we talk about having an open door policy as leaders, is being a collaborator. It's not about, hey, Jim, here's this, go get it done because I said so. Or, hey, Mike, did you take care of that? Because I sent an email last week about it. No, work together. I mean, what's the old quote? Teamwork makes the dream work. Yes, Jim, exactly. It's got to come together. Why? Because when we collaborate, we cooperate that much more. And that much more effectively, and it's less about competition. This is one of the topics I'm going to start with you, Mike, today, is when we look at collaboration, or I always look at it as cooperation over competitions, when we collaborate together, it kind of pulls competition out of it. I'm not saying competition can't be fun. I'm not saying that, which I'm going to lose, but Mike and I go play golf together. We're not going to be a little competitive. I'm already writing it off. I'm going to lose, but I'm going to have fun with it. Okay. Like,
Don't be so sure.
Oh, I know. Parents. But the point is if we eliminate the competition, most people do not understand, and many leaders don't understand. Very rarely somebody actually after your job, like truly after your job. And if they are, it's going to show, and they're not going to be a leader anyways if the organization's paying attention. So what does it mean to you, Mike, to kind of maybe have some fun competitive edges, but more importantly, to collaborate together to get the very task, jobs, goals, sales marks, everything else together? Why is that important to you?
Well, I really approach this question from an athletic standpoint, because I've done that so much of my life was built around playing team sports. So, we're in the middle of baseball season. If you just put a center fielder out in the outfield and don't cover right or left, you're going to have some problems, unless somebody's got some pretty big wheels in center field. But you're going to have some problems. I mean, you could put the greatest team around you, but, if your pitcher can't pitch, I mean, you're going to be chasing balls all over the yard. So, I mean, I just think that collaboration is so much about utilizing strengths and putting those strengths around you where you may be weak, so that, you can complete that whole kind of circle of life. Wow. Did you get that?
Yeah.
I can't believe.
By the way, everybody, we were singing Lion King before we came.
Yeah. But that's really what it's all about. I mean, listen, I look at it this way. I can't be I'm not strong in every area of life that I want to be strong. If I want to get a good golf swing, I'm going to have to go get a golf coach. If I want to have the quality of life that I want, and I'm kind of stuck on something, I need to go get a life coach. And there's nothing wrong with that. And so, if you have a team of 10 and somebody's stronger in an area, say more technical in an area than you are, lean on them in that area. And then everybody play nice in the sandbox together. We live in a culture where this seems to be a bit of a problem in corporate America for some reason. And I'm not sure what it's all about. I'm still trying to figure this out. But I guess everybody thinks they're going to lose their job, which is kind of funny because there doesn't seem to be enough people that want to work anyway. So if you work hard enough, you probably got.
Well, if you give them the money when they're at home, what's the point of working?
It's crazy. Probably went down a road I don't need to go down. But the whole point is that I'm a big proponent of collaboration. Even though I'm an individual entrepreneur, I love to collaborate because there's nothing better than just like giving somebody a phone call. I know I've done it to both of you many times. Hey, here's what's going on. What do you think? And that's a good way to go about life in general, whether it's in business or in your personal life.
Well, it's irony you're at its finest. You're talking about like all these companies that are just doing all these things. And one of the things, Jim, coming over to you that I'm thinking about in collaboration versus competition is this idea of these leaders get to the top and they want to keep it all for themselves.
Yep.
And they forget that one, at some point in time, they had help in their life. I hate the self-made term. I'm not a fan of it. I'm really not. I know there are certain things that if we don't answer the call or you don't write that book or anything, but even that book, you had help. Right?
Absolutely.
Even that thing you created, that thing you invented, at some point in time, you had help. But unfortunately, we've got some leaders out there, they get to the top, and now you look at these organizations that are laying off 10,000 employees at once, instead of taking a pay cut, collaborating with them and saying, hey, here's what we can do to fix this. Let's fix it. Or asking, how can we fix this? So, Jim, I kind of just led into it a little bit there, but how do we fix this? How do we get these leaders to understand that collaboration over competition is going to win more so than anything, anytime?
Yeah. How about collaborative competition? So you can always have great competition, but as long as you understand the big goal. Let me give you a great example in the industry. Wineries, when you see, they don't promote just their wine, they promote the industry. Why? Because they know that people it's not going to just go to your winery. They're going to probably go to multiple wineries when they go there. So they promote the industry, but of course they want theirs to be there. But they'll put emphasis on it. But it's so very important. So your specific question, can you just say your specific question again?
Why is it important for these top leaders to start understanding they need to collaborate more than compete? Because competing is causing all kinds of loss.
Yeah. Now, if you look at, healthy competition is good. We've heard that. But collaboration during that process is so very important because here's a simple thing. If you compete to purely compete without the bigger picture in mind, you're going to cause division. That's just a true statement. We can look at our country, but we don't have to go there. I just want to, address one issue. Hopefully people are aware of it. We all know the Budweiser issue. I'm not trying to get into the politics of it, but let's just, for those people that may be aware, a lot of the country stars are kind of not going for Budweiser's certain decisions. So what they did was they just basically said, we're going to ban Budweiser, right? Did you guys hear that? Yeah. That's national. You hear that, Mike?
Except for Garth.
Yeah. Now, here's a great example. I don't know. Have you, Mike, listened to any of the response, like from John Rich?
I've seen some of it. I'll be perfectly honest with Jim. I'm more out on everybody screaming at each other.
Well, here's the cool thing. Garth was asked what, because what Garth is doing, they show a big thing on his restaurant, said friends in low places, and it's his bar, and he's choosing. And then when you really listen to it, again, things get sensationalized. He really didn't say we are gonna get Budweiser. All he said is that we're gonna support and bring in all types of beers. When you really look at his quote and you listen to it, I don't, unless, he might not have even mentioned that specific company, but there was a great time. John Rich was supposed to comment. Here's a great collaborative spirit. He basically paraphrased says, I know Garth, he's always been somebody to pull people together. Maybe he's using this as a way to really connect everybody together. Now, he did say, which is a fair statement, he may find that eventually you have to sell the beer that sells, and that he may not have the business he'd like. John could have had an incredible time with that and walked all over Garth, but he chose not to. That is a collaborative spirit. He's working together. He's being honest. And what does that do? I thought about that. I said, I respect John for his response, not to turn it into some sort of a competitive thing, because there's a lot of competition at that arena as well. But because he did that, again, that's a chance to say, hey, a beginning stage to say, hey, I respect where you're coming from. This is my perspective, which I think if we kept it to that, it'd be really good. But collaborative brings people together, and I think ultimately yields the best result. Competitive wins at all cost, and what you get at the end is, I would say, even definitely not the best. You just get the loudest voice, or the one that was, the most suave in what they projected. Collaborative is different. So very important. If you want the best result and you want unity, collaboration is key, not pure competition.
Yeah, and Jim, a word you used there that I found imperative to this discussion is connection.
Oh, yeah.
We're using a lot of C words today: connection, competitive, collaboration. And I think connection allows us to have a greater understanding. I also think it helps us to establish a better middle ground if we kind of slice a bit of the competition off of it. Jim made a very valid point here in that the loudest voice can win. Even, or coming back to Mike's example with sports, sometimes it's not always the team with the top number one player on the team that wins. It's the team that got together and connected and collaborated to win. I think back to I forgot what year it was, but it was the New York Giants, Eli Manning, and I listened to Steve Weatherford quite a bit. Shout out to him, amazing man. And their team should have never even been in the playoffs, and somehow they were. And coach comes into the locker room and says, "This team can win this." They were playing Tom Brady and the Patriots for the Super Bowl. It's one of the Patriots' best years, and they won it. They won it because they collaborated together. It's one of the things all the guys got together and said, no matter what, you got his back, he's got your back, he's got his back, and they collaborated and they won. And now, yes, I know on the field that was a competition. However, in the weight room, in the locker room, at practice, whatever, if these guys were competing against each other saying, no, I'm not going to help him because he could take my spot, or if this happens, I can't do this because of him. Now it doesn't work. So yes, it's okay to have a healthy dose of competition. It's okay as a company to put on competitions, but make it a way that brings people together. It's the same thing. Mike, coming back to you, it's the same thing in our homes, in our families. The other day, God bless them. God bless them. I love them. My kids are getting old enough. They're figuring it out. Josh just turned 8 Friday. And a shout out to all the dads and fathers out there, by the way. I know it's yesterday, but happy Father's Day, guys. And to you too, especially with being here with me. But the other day, one of the two youngers tried putting mommy against daddy. Well, daddy said this. And my wife
All
goes,
right.
I guarantee you, your dad did not say that. And they're both like, huh? What? She's like, one, I know your father well enough because we communicate together. Right? We communicate enough. Plus, everybody in this house knows your dad wouldn't have said yes to that. But she said, she goes, do you two understand? And I remember my parents saying it. I hear other parents say it all the time. Do you two understand that mommy and daddy communicate together? What do you mean? We talk. It's a back and forth thing of, like the funnest one in our house is snack time. I gave the kids a snack the other day, and because I was in the office working, I come upstairs and was like, what does that sound? My wife looked at me, she goes, well, and it was a miscommunication on our part, but she looked at me, and I said, she eating again? She goes, well, they told me you didn't give them a snack because you've been downstairs the whole time working. Not true. Not true. Here's the thing. Once both kids realized, oops, mom and dad do collaborate, they do talk, they realized they were both in trouble for lying to mom. Not necessarily they need a snack. I don't, you need to eat. But the fact that they see us collaborating together, they recognize that when they collaborate and try and scheme together, because they're very good at that, they're only getting better, unfortunately. They scheme together that mom and dad are going to do the same thing. And so even in the home, Mike, when we think about being leaders in the home and in our family units, and we look at the fact that there's even times within family units we scheme against each other. How do we stop that and create better collaboration?
You know, this is a tough one, Chris. It really is. I just recently had a guest on the podcast, and we were talking about the divorce rate, which is now at 62% in this country, which is horrifying. And these are the statistics coming back after COVID. And so, you know, the family unit is under stress. And what that tells me is that if we want to use the word collaborative, is that, you know, we've got married couples that are not being as collaborative as they can be, maybe for a wide range of reasons. And I'm painting a broad picture there. But, you know, when we talk about how our kids grow up, how they think, how they feel, what's going on in their life, who they're around is who they're directly affected by. And certainly, in my view, outside of their peer group, their parents play the biggest role. And so if you have two parents that aren't communicating or are angry with each other or upset with each other or don't even live in the same room, you're probably going to have some challenges. And this is what's going on in the nuclear family in America right now. Now, listen, yesterday, you know, was Father's Day. And I can't believe how many people that I talked to that said, yeah, I got to get down the road to a ball game. I mean, you know, Father's Day, Mother's Day, a lot of these holidays used to be sacred territory where families came together. Now they don't have time to come together. They're down the street at a ball game. And, you know, if we start treating Father's Day like it doesn't matter, hey, you got what you got in this country, 62% divorce rate and kids that are walking around completely lost. And I hate to paint a picture like that, but, you know, having parents that collaborate together, having a home that collaborates together, right? It's a critical part of success of the family, success of our communities, success of our churches, success in our companies. I mean, it goes on and on and on, quite honestly, I think, Chris.
Well, and the thing is we have a very individualistic mindset and approach to life right now. It's all about me, 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 me. And the thing is, and Jim, I'm coming back to you with this one, because we've talked at length about, you know, teamwork and about, you know, now collaboration being the word for today that we're using to describe leaders. But it can be any number of things that ends this individualistic attitude and mindset of, Jim, from a leadership standpoint, you know, you brought up John Rich and how he, you know, replied to something that honestly is still a very hot topic. And I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole either with anybody, but how do we as leaders, because I view you two as amazing leaders. I mean, without us collaborating a time and a day, we don't have this show. Without us collaborating days and times, we don't have the GCC on Wednesdays, or, you know, Mike's got a book over there over his shoulder called The Art of Connection. Both of us are authors and we contributed to that book. Me trying to write that book on my own would never have happened. But as a group, as a collective group, we came together and we wrote an amazing piece of literature that's going to stand the test of time with so many amazing other people. So, Jim, what are some next steps that we've got to start taking to end this individualism and start getting more collaboration out? Not even out, I almost said out of our homes. Heck, Mike just gave a staggering statistic. We need it in the home. So what are some steps we can start to take to get more collaboration going on out here?
This is a very deep question. I think one thing is to understand our perspective is not necessarily right. There are other perspectives. Um, and when we seek to understand rather than try to convince, like if I'm trying to convince, just as an example, I take, I don't, I think you guys know this. I'm Asian. Okay, hopefully you know this. Um, so yes, and even both of you, two whites don't make a Wong, right? I mean, even from that perspective, some people might view it like, oh, that's isn't it kind of stereotypical or racist? And I have, I'm using my other hat, my hat, and think, oh, that's so stereotypical, that's so racist. I don't view it as racist at all. I just view it as a cool hat. You know what I mean? But that can be put in my mind, but that's other people's perspectives. So if I sit there and let's say I think that the Asians are better at something than let's just use Mike's example, okay? Mike's example: white people drive better than Asian people. Now he didn't say that. He didn't really say that, but I'm trying to make this fun. But if that's his perspective and he's looking to justify it, it's going to be a very different perspective than him understanding. Well, Asian people can drive too. Well, let's just take a look at what I'm missing. But if you're trying to push an agenda, push something through at all costs, you're trying to just convince and you're not listening, then I use that as a fun analogy. But I love the example I give. What's better, a monkey, giraffe, right? Monkey, giraffe, or fish? Which is a better animal? Well, it kind of depends on what you're testing for. That's the answer. And it's the same thing. A lot of times people are just pushing their itinerary. Hey, the fish is a better fish because it swims and does it. But what if we're talking about climbing a tree? The fish probably is going to lose all the time. But if that's my perspective, and that is the only thing I believe, that the fish is a better fish, and I'm always looking for evidence to reinforce it and convince, and I may even be right. But the whole thing is that whether or not am I going to listen to what you say? Am I going to listen to what Mike says about these other animals that could be better animals? Do I really process it, or am I trying to think, okay, why are they not as good? So I think it's just always seek to understand, not just push a point. That's a great place to start. Always understand perspective. One final example: somebody that steals. People steal for a variety of reasons. What if somebody steals just because they want to feed their child, right? That's a different perspective. Were they really wrong? I mean, think about these things. It's the context of things in which you position it. So that's my answer. Seek to understand and try to get the other person's perspective.
Two key words in there was understanding and perspective, and they can go together, or sometimes they can work against each other. Just for the simple fact that, right is wrong, right is right, and wrong is wrong. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, it means there's going to be consequences to any action that we have or perceive out there, whether it's a good consequence or a bad consequence. A lot of people hear that word consequence and they treat it like it's such a bad term. You don't have to. Consequence can be a good thing. The consequences of hard work and dedication could mean more money, could mean a promotion. The key here today and understanding moving forward as leaders, and Jim, you're right, we got to have more understanding, we got to bring in more perspective, we've got to be able to, Mike talked about communication, we got to be able to communicate a lot better. And so the key today to the word is literally what it says it is. To me, collaboration is an action word. It's an action that we have to take together, and it takes leaders standing up and saying, okay, let's find a middle ground here, but you've got to bring everyone collectively together, which is many times easier said than done. I get it. However, when we just throw our hands up and say, I'm the leader, you do what I say, or I don't want to deal with it, y'all figure it out because I'm going to go sit in my office and put my feet up on the desk because I don't care, that's not going to work. That's why we have so many, or at home going, yeah, I may be dad or I may be mom or whatever, but you guys fight it out. I don't care. Every now and again, I kind of let the kids kind of work it out on their own. Well, we do come together and collaborate together and say, well, Josh, here's why you were wrong. Emma, here's why you were wrong. Or here's why we're doing this. Or something else we've done is collaborate together to find the better solution of, okay, on this day, you get this area, because they fight over the areas in the basement to play in. And on this day, it's your day to have it. And what's funny is ever since we did that, they collaborate together on it. They just double check, hey, Dad, whose day is it today? And now it's not even an argument anymore. Or they come together, it's like, well, you know what? While I'm playing this, if you do this, it goes along with my game. And now they're getting along again. It sometimes lasts for 10 minutes, sometimes it lasts the whole day. But the point is, get together and collaborate with one another. And here's the most amazing part of collaboration to me. The most amazing part of this is the imaginations, the results, the productivity, the profitability, the actions that can be taken because of collaboration can totally change the entire perspective and understanding of everything we're doing. When we're doing it together, we can find better middle grounds. We find better ways of getting along. We find better ways of finding solutions to our problems. Jim, final thoughts from you on how to connect with you.
Yeah, I think great subject. I think one that we need to listen all the way from our nation all the way down to the individual. Thank you so much for bringing this up. Just coordinating. I always learn. This is one of the my favorite shows to be a part of, because you put so much thought here. But yeah, for everyone out there listening, think of just not your perspective, but where the person is coming from, and start from that vantage point and seek to understand, not to be right. And so I think that's a great place to start. But my name is Jim T. Chong. I'm founder of Global Cooperative Chamber, as well as, I deal a lot with culture and community. So I am going to be launching the Fantastic Foreigners, professional media PR publicist. And, you can check me out at jimtchong.com, or even go to Zoom Turtle to find out all the crazy stuff that I'm involved with. So jimtchong.com and zoomturtle.com. Thank you.
There is a lot on there, but it's amazing. There's so much good stuff on there. And The True Man, and Mike made mention of his podcast. Folks, go check it out. It's absolutely outstanding. But Mike, final thoughts from you today, and how we can connect with you a little bit further outside of finding the podcast.
Yeah, when Jim was talking, I was thinking about Stephen Covey wrote one of the greatest leadership books of all time, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he was talking about this idea in his book about seeking to be understood. And by the way, there's a classic Stephen Covey video about him and his son, which is absolutely outstanding. You can go to YouTube and check it out. Just look it up, Clean and Green by Stephen Covey. It's an absolutely fantastic video story about him and his son. And this is really a lot about seeking to be understood. And so we need so much more of that in our homes, in our cities, in this country, and we need to be understood. This practice of listening should not be underestimated, because it will change your perspective on a lot of things with proper discernment. So that's my 2 cents there. But you can find me on truemanlifecoaching.com. You can find my podcast on that website, or you can click on truemanpodcast.com. We have so many great guests all the time. It's just incredible. The people that come on and tell their story, and that right there is me seeking to understand people at a greater level, is what the podcast is really all about. So thanks for having me on this podcast, True Leadership. I love it, Chris.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mike. And I love it too. It just, and without being, I just lost the word I want to use here, without overusing it, the collaboration between the three of us, Jim made a comment, he learned so much on the show. Mike just said what he said about this show and about everything we do. And that's how all this has come together. I mean, I'm bringing 20 plus years of leadership knowledge and experience, and when I say knowledge, it's not just schoolwork stuff I've done. Although I do have some formal education background. I'm talking when I was on the fire department. I'm talking when I was in sales in the coffee business. When I was a general manager of Pizza Hut. There's things we've talked about I take back from when I was a 14-year-old Boy Scout, running the troop as the senior patrol leader. And let me tell you, when you're at the middle of the age bracket, that's not easily done. That's not to brag. There are plenty out there who have done it. But the fact that there's always this drive in me to create a collaborative effort, to create understanding, to get people to combine their stories and share their stories and have these testimonies and to learn from one another. That's collaboration. And when leaders step up and they are collaborators, we have a better, stronger, more effective, productive world. It's a proven fact. Look at history. The days that we're spending too much time competing with one another and everything else, hating on one another, we're falling apart. Our homes are falling apart. Our churches are falling apart. Organizations, companies, our governments are falling apart. Instead of collaborating and saying, what's the greater good for everybody, not just me?
Right.
Period. Not sorry for saying that. It's the truth. Chris Tice, I own and operate Eagle Fire Enrichment Leadership Solutions Company. Love having this chat with any leader. But of course, you can reach out to Jim or Mike. They told you how to get a hold of them. Chris@eaglefireenrichment.com. That's my email. You can give me there, or just throw a www in front of it, and you'll get to the website. So, gentlemen, thank you. What an honor to have this chat today. I mean, this one could go for hours easily, but we have half an hour. So, until next week, which we will be talking about. This one's fun. You know why? Because when we collaborate, we become innovators.
Oh,
Leaders are innovators. This one's fun. Lots of examples on this one. Lots of. But until then, have your best day ever by making every day great. Remember, you can never did. God bless us all. We'll see you next week.